was brought out to the site and given briefings and finally shown what I was going to be working on.
This is the story of a man who doesn't exist.
And I felt it was really worthwhile to tell somebody.
And of a place which also doesn't exist. It's a story of conspiracy, cover-ups, fear and secrecy.
They threatened to kill my wife.
Hidden in the heart of the American desert.
They said they'd stop at nothing.
Guarded by a force who will shoot any intruder just to prove this place does not exist.
They were crazy. They really were. They were completely out of control.
70 miles outside Las Vegas in the Nevada desert, there's an area the size of Switzerland that no one claims to know anything about. Since the end of World War II, this barren landscape has hidden a mystery. Some call it Groom Lake, others Dreamland, but most know it best as Area 51. It is the US military's most closely guarded secret.
Area 51 to this day is not acknowledged. That is to say, the Air Force does not admit that it exists.
In the absence of facts, myths have taken root and spread. Some say flying saucers are being tested here, and not only that, but these saucers are not of human invention, but a joint project between the military and an intelligence from beyond Earth. A crazy idea is the usual response, but it is generally agreed that there is something going on there, a secret which the military will go to extraordinary lengths to protect.
The test base that's called Area 51 out at Groom Lake in Nevada dates back to the mid-1950s when the Central Intelligence Agency and Lockheed needed a flight test base for the U-2 spy plane.
At that time in particular, out in Nevada, there's tens of thousands of square miles of nothing. That was before Las Vegas became a big city and stuff. So you want an area that you can keep people out of. And this is before satellites. So that there's no way anybody can find out what you're doing.
In recent years, Area 51 has become a magnet for the curious. They gather here at the little Ailey Inn in the town of Rachel to swap saucer stories, pick up an ET souvenir, or trade conspiracy theories. And some visitors never find their way home, enthusiastic amateurs snared by the legends that surround the place.
Well, the majority of the activities are routine, day-to-day research and development of new spy-type aircraft, stealth-type aircraft. But there is a section which is located a little bit south of the Groom Lake facility itself, where they apparently have, for lack of a better name, alien technology.
Strange dancing lights are a common sight above Area 51. One might hope to see a distant display as often as once a week. But amateurs aren't the only ones drawn to the area. Bob Exler, a former NASA scientist, has immersed himself in the subject.
This is an area that has been known but officially denied for many decades. We go back quite a ways into the 40s and 50s with the development of the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71. All of our super secret aircraft have been developed and test flown out in this particular area. So it only makes sense that if you have something as sophisticated as a flying saucer and the related technology to that, that would certainly be one of the prime locations you'd want to go.
The security around Area 51 is fairly extensive. There are sensors both inside and outside of the boundaries. There are a large number of patrolling security vehicles, which are all white Jeep Cherokees, that roam the boundaries and outside the boundaries, keeping an eye on people near the base. There are directional microphones that are hidden in the brush, proximity sensors, motion detectors, ammonia sensors, which can sniff out a human from an animal because of the ammonia in their perspiration.
This extreme level of security also extends to those who work inside the base.
When you go to work out at those locations, you sign away your constitutional rights. you sign a piece of paper saying that if you violate your security agreement and you discuss programs that you're working on without a trial, without right of appeal, you're going to go to Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary for 20 years. That's a real big incentive to keep your mouth shut.
One man who failed to keep his mouth shut was a physicist and engineer who claimed he had worked at the base. And not only that, but that he had worked on the most top-secret project there, flying saucers. His name is Bob Lazar. An unconventional man with a past shrouded in shadows, he claims never to have made any money from his story. But many still believe it too absurd, and Lazar himself just a Walter Mitty fantasist.
You've essentially opened up a whole new world, and now you know there's a whole universe and other life out there, and you have to pretend that doesn't exist when you come home. I wanted some people to know what was going on.
He's a pretty serious guy. He does have a sense of humor, but he's certainly not a clown, and I knew him before he was in the program. I met his family, his wife's family. He had taken me to Los Alamos. I met people who worked with him when he worked there, so I certainly did not suspect that it was a story he fabricated, or even that would be a possibility.
I thought UFOs were pretty much a figment of someone's imagination. I didn't believe in them. I wasn't interested in them. Of course, I'm not even interested in them now, but I certainly do believe in them now. I was to work on the reactor that was removed from the craft in the lab, and one of the gravity amplifiers that was removed from the craft and in the lab, so that's where I spent all my time. However, I was allowed in the craft on one occasion to see the placement of these systems in case it was important to their operation. There was a hatch, a hole, an opening. The door wasn't on, and it was obviously removed, or never existed for all I know, but there was a ladder to go up and go inside it. So I don't know how it's sealed. I just imagine that they had removed the hatch. It was obviously made to be piloted by something smaller than the average human being, very cramped in there. There was a sub-level where a little collapsing floor member opened, and I could stick my head and upper torso down underneath with a flashlight to see how the gravity amplifiers hung upside down. At one point when I was in the craft, one of the archways became transparent. There were some technicians working on something else that I had no knowledge of. So, and also something began to scroll up on the screen. So it might have been possible that the skin of the craft, whether under electrical influence or something else, could at times become either transparent to look outside or be used as some sort of video screen. That was pretty amazing. When I went outside and looked at it, it looked as if it was just a plain piece of metal again. There were 3 seats, 3 amplifiers that looked like boxes. You could call them consoles, but there were no instrumentation, buttons, or anything on them. To complicate things further, there was no wiring anywhere. The seats were very small. I'd say about 1/3 to 1/4 the size of a normal human seat. Walking in the craft was an ominous feeling, a feeling that you shouldn't be there. It was by no means exciting. It was really unearthly, and I don't mean that as a pun, but it really was.
However, Lazar is always careful to underline the fact that he never saw anything that could be described as an alien being.
I was brought into the hangar for one of the short-duration tests, and the craft was already outside on the lake bed, and lifted off silently and just drifted around for a bit and set back down, and that was pretty much of a marvelous sight. It's a huge thing. It's like seeing a house lift off the ground quietly. It's just, you can't imagine the energy involved to do that and not to make any noise at all. So I can only assume that there were humans on board, and somehow they had managed to squeeze themselves into those little seats or put something in there to sit on, and obviously they knew how to operate whatever controls there was or fabricate their own.